I really enjoyed the time we got to spend on the radio together up there at the Marble Palace, but it's good to be on the phone with you.
Yeah, I did as well. Have you been following the news any with this the task force, the task force, and if so, what are your hopes? What are your hopes? What are your dreams?
Well, I happen to know most, if not 98% of the people that are on those two tasks or on the task force between the House and the Senate. And, it's actually pretty simple, Paul. 1 + 1 is 2. You can't spend more money than you make. And you can look at all the tax cuts you want, and we're all for them. But at some point, you got to cut the size of government. And taxes will take care of themselves if you'll do two things: quit spending money, cut the size of government, and give that money that you save back to the people. That's a tax cut.
Now,
and till that happens, we can circle this wagon. We can figure and cipher and do all that we want to do. But the bottom line is you've got to cut the size of government. And this governor, for the last 3 years, has not been willing to do that.
No, you're exactly right. Increases in spending, every year until he recently ran out of room and he had to actually cut spending. Matter of fact, we got to phrase this correctly because I'm going to fall into the trap here. It's actually a cut in an increase. He's still increasing spending. You see all these news with all the cuts that are going on. Matter of fact, in this Michael Wickline article, where I cannot believe, by the way, they actually said that Jonathan Dismang offered a position on this committee to Jake Files and he declined. Still can't believe that happened in light of everything.
Jake was a little busy.
Yeah, he's a little busy, and now he's a solar panel consultant now for some Texas company. So I'm sure we're all going to be voting on solar special session next week for solar panels in every home or something like that. But Jim Hendren, Senator Jim Hendren, he's quoted in this Wickline article today. Hendren said he's optimistic that individual income taxes can be cut by closing loopholes, removing exemptions, and simplifying the tax code, but it's going to be a challenge. Quote, I don't think you will see us do anything to put us in a budget crisis, Hendren said. Hendren, a nephew of the governor, said the tax code, quote, needs a tremendous amount of work no matter if the state had a $70 million budget cut or a $300 million surplus. So with that last line of the article, you get the feeling that they are embracing this cut from an increase in spending as somehow something conservative. Jim Hendren seems to be embracing what Dismang said, what Hendren said, that they don't have a spending problem, they have a revenue problem.
Yeah. And it's the trap that every person in the audience, and we all know that's lived any amount of time in our lives, we know this all too well. It's the old saying goes, it's not how much money you make, it's how much you keep. And we have a spending problem in Arkansas. When you have more employees per capita than the state of California,
that's a problem.
You've got a spending problem. When you've got 60, 70,000 employees for a state of 3 million people, it's just unbelievable. And so you that needs to be half that. I talked to the head at the time when I was in the legislature, the head of the State Employees Association, and we could cut the size of government by first cutting we lose about 5% of our employees a year, state employees, who retire, pass away, get another job, just by not replacing them and getting creative and getting innovative. We could cut that by 20% every 4 years.
Yeah.
And so there's so much room. And if you've been in the legislature, there's so much fat. 7 and 8 superintendents per school district. I mean, they're up to their wazoo and superintendents, assistant superintendents, and vice superintendents, and there's all kind of fat in every department, in every agency, and that's what they ought to be meeting about, is cutting the size of government. That's how George Bush got in trouble. He cut taxes and didn't cut the size of government.
Yeah, and he grew it more than any president before him.
Yeah. We ought to be working on getting rid of the used car tax. We ought to be getting rid of the what is this personal property tax and all these taxes that Bill Clinton. But we can't do that because, or we won't do that because the governor and the legislature is afraid.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program today. Thank you so much for being with us. My name is Paul. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're building a liberty machine. We want you to be a part of that liberty machine. We got a lot of news to get to today, specifically Governor Hutchinson, along with the Arkansas Department of Economic Development, with a big announcement about another Chinese company investing in Arkansas, quote, investing. And we'll talk more about that. But joining us now, I want to welcome back to the program. We got State Representative Josh Miller is with us from District 66. Josh, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing great, Paul. How are you? Thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You're welcome anytime. You know that. I'm glad that you could come on when I asked, because I wanted to get your thoughts on why so many people are now saying that a certain program is unsustainable. Now they're kind of on board with what conservatives, platform Republicans have been saying for several years now. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to say that I'm glad others are seeing the light. You know, this is something that myself and a handful of others have been saying for years now, that this program's unsustainable. One day we're going to have to pay the piper, and we're not going to be able to afford it. I hate that it's gotten this far. So you know, I am glad that they're seeing the light. I do find it extremely humorous, and this is just, you know, why our political system is broke in our country and in our state, is that these guys, our less conservative Republican friends, are out saying, "Oh, this program is not manageable. We're on an unsustainable path." Yet, however, they came after me and a handful of other legislators in primaries and other races over the past few years because we were saying the same thing. So I'm willing to bet they're not going to admit that we were right, and somehow or another, I bet they're going to say that we're still wrong, but they're now right.
Yeah.
Does that make any sense?
No, it really doesn't. I think they have to do that, or else they would actually lose credibility, and they would be admitting that they were wrong, and that would lose. Rightfully so. They should be less credible, because now they're the ones that want to lead us out of the mess that they themselves have perpetuated. They themselves are the ones that have actually created this mess. I've heard the governor. I've seen some other tweets from some folks who have always supported this program, and they seem to be complaining about what the Republicans in D.C. have done concerning the repeal and replacement of Obamacare. They are all, I think Charlie Collins was on Twitter saying this. The governor went on TV and said that the plan as is that came out of the House of Representatives is not where it needs to be. And, of course, as conservatives, we're hoping that the Senate doesn't dismantle some of the good things that they did. But it seems like that ASA and some others are hoping they do dismantle specifically the end of Medicaid expansion, the phase out in 2020. What are your thoughts on that, State Representative Miller?
Well, I think you've got some big government, money-hungry Republicans, some of whom you have just named, so I don't need to be redundant, that love the idea of free federal money. And their undergarments are in a wad right now because they see that pot is drying up, which you didn't have to be a prophet in 2013, 2014, 2015, or 2016 to see that at some point that pot of money was going to dry up.
Yeah.
Every person that we have signed up on Medicaid expansion in the state of Arkansas, the federal dollars that came into Arkansas were not allocated to us from some magical pot in Washington, D.C. They were borrowed from places like China. And, and at some point, thankfully, Congress has seen the light and is willing to put forth a plan that's going to say, hey, we can't continue to do this. We can't give state money at a 90-10 rate, match rate anymore. And so I applaud them for doing it. And I think it's laughable. I mean, it's got folks like the governor and other legislators in a pickle because now they're having to badmouth Republicans in D.C. and we're going to have a state Republican feud between our state leaders and our federal leaders, and I think that's a shame. They've got to in D.C. they've got to manage the budget just like we do. They can't afford to keep doing it anymore.
It's an interesting point.
Those are my thoughts.
I hadn't actually thought about what you just raised, which was if you look at the four members of our House delegation, but all of them supporting this, and then the state, you got State Representative Charlie Collins and others, and Governor Hutchinson worried that what they voted for puts too much of the cost on the state. And, of course, what that means is that we would have to eliminate programs for able-to-work adults who are choosing not to work. We'd have to quit giving away free stuff that many people don't believe it's the business of the government to provide. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with you completely. I've taken a lot of heat through the years for my stance against Medicaid expansion, having been a Medicaid beneficiary myself. There was when I had my accident when I was 22 years old, I was uninsured and I had a catastrophic event. There was a safety net there, and I'm grateful for it. We want to preserve, those of us who have always opposed Medicaid expansion, Medicaid expansion has not served one purpose, or has not served one person as a safety net for catastrophic injury. Anybody that signed up for the program that was in that bad a shape immediately got deferred over to traditional Medicaid. There's not one soul with a serious disability on the Medicaid expansion program that is insured by our private insurance companies. They've all been deferred over to traditional Medicaid. My stance through the years has been, hey, I want to preserve the program that was there for me because I want it to be there for others, and our kids down through the years, and they're not going to have a debt that they're going to have to pay back. And I don't think it's our responsibility to provide health insurance for folks who just simply choose not to work.
Yeah.
It's not the responsibility of the government to take care of folks from the cradle to the grave. If they aren't trying to, if they're able to work and are just choosing not to.
Switching gears now, we're talking with State Representative Josh Miller. Switching gears, the task farce was announced, or the task force, the tax farce was announced. You feel free to disagree with me, obviously. I mean, do you have high confidence, high hopes that the people who got selected to be on that committee are going to advocate and fight for limiting the size of government, lowering our taxes, which might mean putting forth a plan where the government gets less money from us than it's getting right now. Your thoughts?
Well, for one, I've been busy with work in the private sector these last few weeks, and I haven't taken the time to read who was selected to be on the Color of the Week task force, and so I apologize in advance to any friends of mine who may be on there, but I have zero confidence in that. I mean, it's a waste of money. Look, the legislature is the task force. We are the people's task force. We don't need to create another task force. And here's what's going to happen. They're going to get together, and they're going to meet a while, and then somebody's going to recommend that somebody's friends get a consulting contract of $1 million or $2 million to come in and analyze our tax structure and report every other month to the task force, and they're going to need to meet, and we're going to need to pay their per diem, and it's just a joke. I'm sorry. It's pathetic. The legislature is the task force. I was elected by District 66 to go down and do the task of trying to run our government as efficiently as possible. And, I would be saying the same thing if they asked me to be on the task force, which I'm confident they did not. But anyway, it's just it's just a joke. Hey, you look at the dadgum healthcare task force. You know how many bills came out of the healthcare task force? You, Mr. Paul Harrell, do you know? I'm going to interview you for a second.
How many bills came out of the task force? I don't know. I guess. Arkansas Works, right? Wasn't that their solution? Wasn't that a bill at some point? Did that come out of the task force?
Well, no, that's what created the task force was SB 96. Actually, the answer to that is one bill. Representative Joe Farrar ran a bill this past session that changed. I don't get me off in the weeds, but it changed the way Medicaid billing was done. It was a good bill. I supported it. But you think about all of we spent millions on the healthcare task force, and they produced one bill that, and Representative Farrar could have produced that on his own, without ever attending a task force meeting. And Representative Farrar is a good friend of mine. He's a smart guy. So that's what I'm saying. I have complete confidence he did not need the task force to have done that bill. But that is the only bill that came out of the task force. Other than that, in 2000, I guess it was 16, when they presented whatever, that was the governor's plan. He wasn't on the task force. So you can't say the task force came up with it. They just voted to go along with the governor's plan.
What he wanted them to do. Yeah, that's a really good point. That's
exactly.
A really good point.
I mean, might as well just save the $1 million and something dollars that we paid the Stevens Group, and save paying per diem all the hundreds of thousands of dollars, I guarantee you, that were spent on per diem for legislators to go down there and pat each other on the back and sing Kumbaya for an hour and a half or two a month. It's just as a joke.
Yeah.
And this tax, multi-rainbow colored, rip colored, whatever task force that we're doing.
I feel like you listen to the program. I feel like you're a listener.
Not as often as I should. I should listen more because it's very educational. But it's just a joke, man. I'm sorry. And for people to, sit here and say, "Oh, this is so good." Well, we could be looking at different ways. There were a lot of bills, a lot of tax cut bills that were filed this year that many of them weren't even heard in committee.
Yeah.
Because we need to have the task force look at everything.
On the on this issue of the tax task farce, Joe, you have this audio clip ready. So back in February, when the veterans tax cut came in, but we had to raise taxes on candy and we had to raise taxes on digital downloads and that sort of thing. The governor said that the governor said it would have been irresponsible just to absorb that in the budget. This is what he said. Go ahead, Joe.
Please note that the other conservative and responsible approach was when it came to providing the tax cuts that's still going through the system for the military retirees that we wanted to make sure that was paid for. So we didn't say, well, we're just going to absorb that. We have to pay for it. We have to close off exemptions. And so there are many that, not many, but there were some that were saying, we don't like to have those offsets. We don't like to have a paid for. We just want to absorb that into our budget. That's not a conservative, responsible approach, and we took that approach. I feel very comfortable with.
Okay, so he's basically saying, look, that's not conservative to absorb a tax cut. And my concern is, Representative Miller, if that is the philosophy of this task force, I mean, we know what we're going to get.
Well, exactly. And then here's the deal, too. And I've got to agree with the governor. I think he left out one key phrase when he said it's not responsible, conservative governing to just absorb this. And what he had intended to say I won't say what he had intended to say. What he should have said, what I would have liked to have heard him say at the end of that statement was, if you're into continuing to expand failed programs and grow big government, if that's your conservative philosophy, then he's right. If you're into limiting government, then you limit the amount of money government has to work with, and then you set the priorities for what we feel like are the most critical needs that we as a state government must meet for the citizens in the state of Arkansas. And and that's what they're unwilling to do. Hey, I get it. If you're running a business and you're going to stop getting income somewhere, you need to be able to still pay your bills. And so if you have to live on less of an income, you need to have fewer bills. It works the same way in government. I laughed until I cried the other day. And I did laugh because it's humorous, and it's sad that it's humorous. But I heard the governor say, in regards to the $70 million he was having to cut out of the budget, out of this year's budget, not to mention the fact that the budget that was just passed grows by over 3%, but that's a side note. But anyway, he says we don't have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. I had to go back and read it twice to fully comprehend and make sure that that wasn't a misprint. We don't have a spending problem. We have a revenue problem. Well, I guess that's the way it is for everybody who gets a credit card with a $20,000 credit limit, and they go run that credit card up to its max, and then the credit card company wants $600 or $800 a month to pay the note on that, and the person can only afford to pay $500, and they say, hey, it's not my fault. I don't have a spending problem. I've got a revenue problem. I'm not getting enough money to pay this bill. I mean, it's a joke, Paul.
I completely agree with you.
It's absolutely ludicrous to say we don't have a spending problem, we have a revenue problem. Well, you have to base your spending off your revenue. And a good way to do that would be to look at last year's budget, the year before that, the previous 3 years.
But they keep growing.
Get an idea about what the...
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but when you increase it by 3% every year, at some point you're going to have to say, oh, crap, we can't pay this bill.
State Representative Josh Miller, you're always a pleasure to have on the program, and I do appreciate it, and I can't wait to do it again.
Hey, Paul, thanks a lot, bud.
Yes,
Take
sir.
care.
Be safe. Folks, it's always great to have him on. We've got to take a break, though. I went over, but you can tell why, because he always has a lot of great stuff to say. Back in just a moment.
Come to Triple R Furniture and see our sofas, recliners, bedroom suites, and more. At Triple R Furniture, we'll deliver up to 50 miles away, and we're here to help you with all of your furniture needs. Triple R Furniture gives you the option to buy furniture outright or rent to own. We strive to make the financing process as easy as possible, which is why everyone is approved. At Triple R Furniture, we offer financing terms for 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. We also offer a manager special. Come see us at the Highland Shopping Center in Highland, Arkansas for details. Customer satisfaction is our top priority at Triple R Furniture. Call us today at 870-856-8003 or find us on the web at triplrfurniture.com.
Arkansas small businesses are tired of taxes that are too high and regulations that work as obstacles to small business success. If you own a small business, it's time to take action. Now, I'm not talking about the local chambers of commerce. I'm talking about an organization that's actually run by small business owners and are fighting for small businesses right here in the state of Arkansas. They're called Conduit for Action, and they're on your side. Conduit for Action is here not to get something from the government, but to be left alone by the government. Think of them as your personal advocate for limited government at the Capitol in Little Rock. If you're tired of all the politicians talking with no results and ready for action, start outsourcing your government affair needs with Conduit for Action. Go now to conduitforaction.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforaction.org, and stand up for small business in Arkansas. Do you need to advertise your business product or service, but not sure what the best choice is? Folks, allow me to introduce you to talk radio. You're listening to it right now. Talk radio is one of the most unique mediums in all of advertising because it actually works. It gets the information you want to the people you want to get it to. And by the way, those people are educated, well-informed decision makers of their household, and most of them have disposable income. If this is a target audience for your business, then you have to consider advertising on my show, The Paul Harrell Program. We have options for most any budget and can provide you with exciting opportunities to grow your business. We can put your message across the state, or we can help you locally. Call 870-275-9755 if you have any questions. That's 870-275-9755, or visit my website, paulharrell.com, and click on Advertise.
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being with us. We have some big news. Well, I mean, the governor has big news. Mike Preston, the head of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, had big news. About 2:45 this afternoon, they announced that the Shandong, it's called the International Influence of Shandong Ruyi. Yeah, there it is. I'm reading it. So the company Shandong Ruyi is coming to Arkansas. The state is going to provide $4 million in grants, and over at the Arkansas Inc. website, you know, the place that puts out advertisements about how governor is the jobs governor and he's leading us into, into greatness. They are clear to point out that this is all dependent upon the job creation. Okay. It's going in St. Francis County, going in Forest City. They're going to have to revitalize a plant that's been dormant for 10 years. So it's going to give $4 million in grants to Shandong Ruyi. It will create a rebate. The company will receive an annual cash rebate that is equal to 5% of total payroll associated with the new jobs created for 10 years. Okay, so they'll be able to pay their employees more, I'm sure. The salary quoted in the press conference was going to start at $15.25 an hour. And the other state incentive, tax back, provides sales tax refunds on building materials, taxable machinery, and equipment associated with the project. That doesn't really have a dollar figure. But anyway, the headline, let the headlines begin. The governor creates X amount of jobs. We'll see if it actually happens.
To cut the size.
Well, they're afraid of this. You hate roads and you hate school children. You can't cut property taxes.
And don't forget the military. We hate veterans too.
You hate the troops. I want to talk about some of your former colleagues here who are on this task force. And look, let me reiterate this. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they actually cut the size of government. I hope they reject revenue neutral tax, quote, revenue neutral tax cuts. And I hope they actually lift the burden off of the people of Arkansas and shrink the size of government. I hope that I'm wrong, but from now, I'm just going by past experiences. We're calling it the task force. All right. So let's start at the top. The Joint Budget Co-Chairman, State Representative Lane Jean, a Republican from Magnolia. Okay.
Okay.
So I wanted to go over how they voted on some of the big issues that you and I talked about so many times down at the Marble Palace. So Republican Lane Jean on this task force, he did not vote on the tire tax bill. Okay, so that was an increase in tire taxes and a new tire tax. He's listed as non-voting. He voted for the gas tax hike scam that would have put, I believe, a dishonest title on the ballot that would have tricked the people of Arkansas. Voted for that. He was present on the military tax cut shell game that increased taxes and created the digital downloads tax. And he did vote no on the internet sales tax SB 140. So kind of a mixed bag there. What are your thoughts?
Well,
Lane.
Lane.
Yeah, Lane.
Lane. And now I'm going to say he's my good friend. I can't pronounce his name. Lane is actually and I are very close, and so I want to make a full disclosure there. We talk pretty often. Here is Lane's issue. Lane is at the heart. He is a bedrock conservative. Here's his problem. He's a super nice guy. He keeps wanting to give the governor
the
leeway.
Benefit of the doubt, I guess.
Benefit of the doubt. Now, I'll tell you, I've watched him do it. I've been in the speaker's office when he's done it. He will give them the what for, and then when they end up doing something else, as you see in his voting record, sometimes he goes along, sometimes he
doesn't. Yeah,
not. He won't, and they know it why he voted president, and sometimes he just stands his ground and votes no.
Yeah.
So I know, but again, we want people that will. Lane knows what to do. He's a businessman. He's very successful, and he knows what they're doing. They're just not willing to cut the size of government. There's not a better guy, and I don't know who all's on there. I can't remember everybody. There's not a better one on there that would give me hope than Lane Jean.
That's encouraging, Donnie. That's encouraging to hear. We're talking with former state representative Donnie Copeland. But here's the whole thing. Last week we talked about how some state senators correctly pointed out there's a huge trust gap going on. Alan Clark was one of them. Senator Jason Rapert was another. That hey, there's just a lot of people that don't trust the governor. And I have to say, after thinking about that, Bob Ballinger, State Representative Bob Ballinger, he voted for the $105 million, transfer and everything else. And he went down on the floor and he said, "I'm sticking my neck out here, Governor. I'm trusting you, Governor."
My neck out there.
And I was talking with a state representative today off the record, and this state representative said, "If you have to say that from the House floor." They're really...
The Paul Harrell Program.
Joe, I left the coffee running. I apologize. I think we've got enough in there. Sorry, folks. I poured one of those Keurig coffees, and I had to come back on and kind of left it running in there. All right, so we're talking about the Shandong Rui Technology Group. The headline here from the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, which takes your money and gives it away to companies. The Shandong Rui, because everybody knows that government creates jobs. The Shandong Rui Technology Group to create up to 800 new jobs in Forest City. Chairman Yafu Chu, spelled Q-I-U but pronounced Chu. Chairman Yafu Chu and leaders of the Shandong Rui Technology Group today joined Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson and local officials of the state capitol to announce the company will invest $410 million in the former Sanyo manufacturing facility in Forest City, Arkansas. Rui is headquartered in Shandong Province, China, which they were quick to point out was one of the translator, or I guess Chairman Chu was quick to point out that was where Confucius was born. We do have that audio for you. That will create up to 800 new jobs at the facility where Arkansas cotton will be spun into yarn for textile use. This is Rui's first facility to locate in North America. Here's the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette headline over at Arkansas Online. Already China-based manufacturer investing $410 million in Arkansas plant, up to 800 new jobs. So when we look at that headline, just that headline alone, the first thing, and I want to do this in real time. I mean, this is news that just came out at 3 o'clock today. The first thing that the government has bought with your money, $400 million in grants, create rebate. The company will receive an annual cash rebate that is equal to 5% of total payroll. There's a tax-back program that will provide sales tax refunds on building materials and taxable machinery and equipment. That's what the state of Arkansas is going to do. St. Francis County is also got their incentives, and I don't know what they are yet. We don't know a lot of specifics. I think it's around $1 million, but I don't know for how long. I don't know if that's a year. I don't know. But I want to point out the first thing that the government is getting with your money going to this company, even if it's in the future, are headlines like this. China-based manufacturer investing $410 million in Arkansas plant, up to 800 new jobs expected. Check this out. Most people will read that. They'll think it's a great idea, and they will never, ever, ever know if it actually ever materialized. Now, the people in St. Francis County will. Maybe people in the region will. But that's about it. And you get, in the third paragraph, the company's chairman, Yafu Chu, and Governor Asa Hutchinson made the announcement Wednesday afternoon at the state capitol in Little Rock. So what we have here is what I have said. Oftentimes the only thing these investments get are positive publicity for the governor, who is operating under the assumption that the government is what creates jobs, which fits in really well with communist Chinese international companies, by the way. Feel the need to make that point. Let's go. Again, this press conference started at 2:45. Let's go to the room in Little Rock. The governor did this from his briefing room, and Joe, go ahead and this is what Asa had to say when he started everything. The stream was a little shaky as I was recording live, and it cut in and out just for a little bit, but that's why this particular clip sounds just a little bit strange. Go ahead. Earlier today.
Them all. And I wanted to welcome back to Arkansas Chairman Chu. Please give Chairman Chu Chairman Chu, I got to know as he is the CEO and chairman of facility. We asked him to visit Arkansas. He did. And as a result of it, we're pleased to announce today that Rui Technology Group will be investing $410 million. And Rui will establish the first cotton spinning operation that it has in North America. In addition to a $410 million investment in Forest City, it will employ up to 800 new jobs in Forest City. It takes some time to get there, so you be patient. You got to remodel a facility.
Yeah, no one will care. No one will really care.
Do the hiring, do all the training, but that is the objective, and that is the goal over the phases of this project. What this means is, again, it's the largest investment and employment announcement in St. Francis County and in the Delta.
All right, stop right there. And I'm sure the people of St. Francis County are happy. just on hearing the news at face value, St. Francis unemployment rate, St. Francis County's unemployment rate is 4.8%. According to the data that I found, that's also the data that Governor Hutchinson quotes here in a minute in this clip. 4.8%. Now, if you believe the statewide unemployment rate is 3.6%, which is what everyone says it is, that the Arkansas economy is booming and our unemployment rate is, in fact, at 3.6%, which is essentially full employment. If you believe that, then and 4.8% is just terrible. I guess what we would say to that is, $4 million and a lot of money in incentives. So $4 million sales tax refunds for building materials and machinery, anything taxable really. Annual cash rebate, 5% of their total payroll. They get money back from the state. Then I guess all of that is going to bring that 4.8% unemployment number in St. Francis County down to the state average, 3.6%. Is that what's going to occur? Because that, I guess, maybe you be the judge. Is it worth it? Where are those jobs going to come from? Now, they say later in a minute that it's $15 an hour jobs is what they're going to be. Now, if that figure, and I believe that's what he said, we'll start at $15.25 and go up from there. That's what Mike Preston, the head of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission, said. You'll hear it here in a minute. If $15 an hour sounds familiar to you, that's the magic number, the magic wage that fast food workers strike over, that they want a $15 an hour minimum wage. I'm just saying if it sounds familiar, that's probably where you've heard it before. Continue, Joe, with the rest of this.
It's going to have a tremendous impact on a county and on a region that has lagged behind the national employment statistics. And St. Francis County have a 4.8% unemployment rate, whereas statewide is 3.6%. And so this is not only great for Arkansas, but it's great for a region of the state that's going to give an economic boost to a region that much deserves it and has worked very hard for it. In addition to the direct employment that this company will do in St. Francis County, the Rui Technology Group will also be a purchaser of 200,000 tons of Arkansas cotton every year.
All right, stop. Okay, so that was earlier today, and then shortly after Governor Hutchinson made that announcement, the chairman of this company, again, Yafu Chu is his name, he took to the podium with a translator. Go ahead, Joe.
来到非常美丽的小石城。
It's my great pleasure to be here in the beautiful city of Little Rock and being greeted by everyone. Thank you and nice to meet you.
今天也同时感谢州长以及他的团队，还有森林市的领导，对于我们这样一个山州如意的工业项目的高度重视和亲切关怀。
And first of all, I would like to extend my heartfelt appreciation again to the Honorable Governor and also to the team of the government at the state level and city level, county level for all the attention, the support, resource, and the care we received for this investment project. As a foreign company, we are very heart touched.
这个项目呢是要用现代的自动化的技术和全球最先进的设备，来制造我们每一个人穿的纺织的服装的产品。
If I have to describe this complicated, significant investment project in one sentence, I should say this is remodeling of the traditional industry, spinning mill, however, via the most modern technology, in combination of the printing and the spinning technology and the most expensive and modern equipment to realize the dream to clothe the world through cotton.
这个项目将投资4亿1千万美金。
This is earlier today. in Little Rock, Chairman Yafu Chu of the Shandong Rui company, putting an investment in Arkansas and getting taxpayer incentives.
同时呢，我们这个项目应当是当今在国际上具有领先的这样一个产品优势的项目。同时最重要的没有污染。
Apart from all the social, positive social effects or significance that can be invested in this investment, on the economics side of the project, it will involve a direct investment of over $400 million. It will host direct employment up to 800 positions, new jobs in the area, and also it will involve more jobs indirectly through logistical and cotton supply, constructions, and also maybe education. And also it directly involved 200,000 tons of cotton consumption to feed our production facility, and it involved know-how sharing with the most advanced civilian technology and government-making technology in the combination of the whole integrated business line of us as an internationalized fashion group.
需要说明的就是现在是用的原来的一个旧厂房，但是同时
Just a little bit longer.
建一个更大的一个现代化的新的厂。
So the Sanyao side is known to you as a local friends. So we try to get the quickest production as possible. That's why we, as the first step, we will remodel the existing facility for phase 1. However, we do have the plan and all the works in place for a very soon phase 2. That means new building on the site to host more labor.
如意呢，山东如意是一个全球领先的一个
So it's hard. So through the first contact meeting sent by government through agency AEDC, Lindsay Liu on behalf of Little Rock, on behalf of Arkansas, contact us for our interest of investment in your great country and preferably in your great state. At that time, we have not much knowledge about the state and the people. However, we are so impressed by the spirits delivered through each meeting with everyone we've been working together with government. And our hearts are touched, and we see the right people, the right vision, similar value, and we are trying to make nice, beautiful things happen to support more people, maybe not even known to us. So we think we are doing the great things with just a great team. So that's why, without any hesitation, we are here. And also for your information, our headquarters is based in Jilin, Shandong province, which is exactly the hometown of Confucius, the greatest Chinese philosopher. So we've been advocated since birth by his philosophy to be caring, giving for a mutual growth spiritually. And on anything, if you want to make a success, you need to be a sharing, caring, loving people, to be generous. Then you can't imagine what you can receive. That's exactly what's happening here. So through this economic investment project, we just love to share the know-how, the technology we have, to share the market opportunity, the business opportunity we can access together with you to create more better future together with more people. That's the vision we have, and we hope to have
All right, that's earlier today from the Capitol in Little Rock. That was the translator there for Yafu Chu, the chairman of the Shandong Rui Technology Group. I want you to imagine that an American businessman would have said the same thing she said there towards the end about investment and how it's good for the people and everything else. I want you to imagine what the left would say if, I guess all of a sudden capitalism is good, although this is not really capitalism, is it? Because the state is having to give them money. And, of course, we know that China, they are a communist government. And so they would probably expect it. But that's kind of ironic there, isn't it? I mean, if you heard an American businessman claim to have the same positive effects that she just claimed what's going on is going to have over their community, the leftists would say, oh, you're a greedy capitalist. But not in this context. I guarantee you that warmed the hearts of Democrats everywhere, what she just said. And now we're going to end with this. Here is the head of the Arkansas Economic Development Commission. His name is Mike Preston. He took to the podium in the governor's conference room to make this announcement, and he said this.
Chairman Chu, Rui, welcome to Arkansas. And then, Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet. We're also here to support you. You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them, and they're going to help you. Guarantee it. Senator English, I saw you out there too. Thank you.
Stop. Play that back, please. Started like in the middle. Play that back where he talks about the legislators. Mike Preston.
Support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them, and they're going to help you.
Stop. That's not the thing to say there, Mike. I got news for you. Because first of all, it's not a factually accurate statement. Unless Chairman Fu, along with his incentive package, Chairman Chu gets to vote. Of course, he kind of does, doesn't he? But not literally, but with his money. And that right there tells you everything you need to know. These are your representatives and senators now. What? Are you serious? I couldn't believe he said that. Because is he a citizen now? Did the incentive package come with a full naturalization ceremony that takes place right after this press conference, or at least a green card? I mean, good grief. These are your senators and representatives. No, they're not. Matter of fact, do they even have elections? Do they have real elections in communist China? It's communist China. No, they don't.
The package comes with, not only does it come with the full naturalization, it comes with Social Security card, driver's license,
welfare benefits.
He gets a credit card with a unlimited spending amount, which is tied directly to that $102 million that Asa pulled the other day.
Yeah, probably. That's the one thing I don't know is where this money's coming from. I'm assuming it's coming from the AEDC, the Quick Action Closing Fund, not that $105 million they transferred last week. Surely not. But I will just, that's the credit card. He's got a $105 million credit limit.
Right, right.
The exact number that was transferred last week.
It's right next to his brand new Social Security card, which allows him to vote now. He's got all the rights of being American.
Yeah. Have you registered to vote? I couldn't believe
they did it for him.
These are your representatives and senators now. I can't believe that. That's incredible. Play that one more time, will you, Joe? This is Mike Preston at the press conference, standing next to Asa Hutchinson, talking to the Communist Chinese chairman Ya-Fu Chu. Listen. Oh, sorry. Are we having problems now? I really want to get it before we go to break.
They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them, and they're going to help you. Guarantee it.
Yeah, guarantee it. Guarantee it. These are your senators and representatives now. Call on them. They're going to help you. Guarantee it. I mean, I'm assuming actual citizens and voters get the same treatment. Back in just a moment.
The Northeast Arkansas Real Estate School offers continuing education classes for your local boards of realtors, local offices, and will offer discounts for large groups. They'll come to you, set up shop, and teach anywhere in Arkansas, and as always, making learning fun and motivating. The Northeast Arkansas Real Estate School is licensed by the Arkansas Real Estate Commission and must adhere to their rules and regulations. Give them a call today at 870-336-4155. That's 870-336-4155. Or find out about class times and schedules at neaprofessionalschools.com. That's neaprofessionalschools.com. Mention the Paul Harrell program and receive 10% off.
This is Common Sense and Liberty. I'm Donnie Copeland. The Republican Party of Arkansas has something called a platform, and it's basically what they believe. Things like lower taxes, right to own and bear arms, encouraging individual responsibility and initiative. Yet in this legislative session, we see Republicans fighting against the right to own and bear arms by amending over and over the campus carry bill. We see instead of lowering taxes and fees being raised 8 different times. We see the attack against individual responsibility and initiative by continuing to embrace Obamacare Medicaid expansion called Arkansas Works. So what we need is not conservatives or not Republicans, because those names don't seem to mean anything anymore. We need platform Republicans. This is Donnie Copeland for Common Sense and Liberty.
It's a PHP parody.
Hey, man, you got any of that marble rock?
Yeah, I've got the hookup.
Thanks. I need a fix real bad. I'm itching to grow some government.
How much you need?
I'm gonna need a taxpayer's dime bag.
No problem, sir. 1 taxpayer dime of marble rock. Enjoy.
Thanks, man. They don't call it Little Rock for nothing. Am I right?
Did you know your state representative or state senator may be addicted to growing government? The drug is called marble rock, and too much of it will cause marble fever. Watch for the warning signs. Does your legislator suddenly display a lack of humility when faced with basic questions? Does he or she suddenly develop hubris and pride that was not present during the campaign for office? These are signs they might be smoking the terrible drug, marble rock. The solution? Detox. Vote for detox. Vote to send them home for their own good. Warning! Some politicians once voted out of office will not go home and stay in Little Rock to get their fix by lobbying, also known as the Burris Syndrome.
PHP parody.
We have little flash drives that have all the information that we're going to get from our media team, so you'll have all that information in front of you.
What's the timeline on the phases?
That's all in there as well.
Was there an average salary?
I think we're starting at $15.25 and from there.
All right, so that's the salary. I guess the hourly wage for this investment. They're saying workers make starting off $15.25 an hour. All right, well, that about kind of wraps it up for this first hour, but that's the news. You heard the audio, the Shandong Rui Technology Group making a, quote, investment in Arkansas making an investment of taxpayer dollars. So far, we don't know all of the numbers. We don't know where the money specifically is coming from. Up to $4 million in grants. That is dependent upon the job creation, they say. Create a rebate. The company will receive an annual cash rebate that is equal to 5% of total payroll associated with the new jobs created. For 10 years, they're going to get a cash rebate of 5% of payroll. The tax back, they will provide a sales tax refund on building materials, taxable machinery, and equipment associated with the project. Now, small businesses out there, you didn't get this treatment, but wouldn't it have been nice if you have plans to expand your business and you would have gotten to not pay those taxes? But that will never, ever happen. But I guess, it's just a difference. I mean, this is what they call economic development. We'll see if 10 years from now there are 800 jobs in St. Francis County. One more hour coming your way next.
Rush, Glenn, Sean, and Paul. This is Jonesboro's 1013 FM News Talk, KBTM.
Is a huge trust gap between the conservative limited government legislators and Asa Hutchinson. I mean, and I didn't think about it, but if you have to go down and call out the Republican governor and say, I'm trusting you not to spend this money, I'm sticking my neck out, my goodness. I completely
You're
missed that.
so right. what a great point by your conversation there. Let me say this, that the problem is a lot of those guys, and Lane, I would say, is much more an exception, that because he will stand his ground. I've seen him, like I said before, and then there's times he'll vote on something, and I've seen him vote for something for them because he's part of leadership, which I don't agree with, and I've told him that to go along, to be a part of it. But I'm going to tell you, man, so many of those guys want better. They just want strong leadership. They're just not going to go against the governor. And it just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
Because I respect the office. I respect, if it were Governor Beebe, if it was anybody else, I would still respect them even though I didn't agree with them. But I'm still not going to vote for things that I know go against the principles of the people that put us in office.
Yeah.
And that's the difference in me, and that's part of why I'm sitting here talking to you on the phone and not in some committee.
Unfortunately, I would agree with you there. Okay, so the next Republican on this task force, we got Representative Matthew Pitch, a Republican from Fort Smith. He voted for the tire tax increase and the new tire tax. That's HB 1267. He voted for the gas tax scam, HB 1726. He voted for the military tax cut / shell game, and a lot of them did. I mean, a lot of them did, but that increased taxes on soda candy digital downloads because we couldn't absorb $13 million. And he voted yes on the internet sales tax that thankfully failed, SB 140. So, I mean, he's agreed with all of their revenue gathering schemes so far. I'm kind of doubtful that he's going to want to actually shrink government to free up, more money that the people can keep. What do you think?
Yeah, and Matt is one of the probably sharpest, smartest men down there. Super businessman, engineer by training. Great guy off the floor. He's just super guy. But when Matt got down there, he got in the leadership track. He and Bob Ballinger, if you remember, were vying for a majority leader. Now you look at it, and it was two peas in a pod. Matt's going to go along with what the governor wants, and you keep, I know, tongue in cheek, kind of saying tax farce, but really it is, because it's all Obama-esque, blue ribbon panel. It's all dog and pony show, folks. This is not hard. It's tough. It's tough to say we're going to cut 30% of the government, and we're going. But here's what the cool part: when you do that, you put all that money back in people's pockets, and they spend it, and they invest it, and they're just not willing. The governor's not willing to go big. He's just not. He's never going to go big. He never has. He is timid. He is scared, and that's why he kept Obamacare. He's scared, and he's not going to go big. And he's got people around him that are good men, and they're not going to, and good women. They're not going to fight him. Some of them put up a little bit of a fight first few years and rattled a sword or two, and now they're in line, unfortunately. And Matt's a great guy, but he's not going to go against.
Well, yeah, and
he's not going to go against.
And as I'm looking at these voting records, I feel the need. I get a point out. If you go down the list, Democrat Bob Johnson from Jacksonville, he's been put on the task force. Okay, he did not vote on the tire tax, so he just didn't vote. He was present on the gas tax scam. He voted for the military tax cut shell game, and he voted yes on the internet sales tax. And I guess the exercise here is, let's compare these Republican voting records on these big issues. There's no difference. That's exactly right. For the most part, there's not much difference. And yet we're going to have
microcosm. But when you look at it from a macro viewpoint, there's been no difference. I mean, as a whole, there really hasn't been. But go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, that's exactly my point. It's you want we're going into this. Their rhetoric, their carefully crafted language is, we're going to have to make these tough choices. Well, I mean, you look at how they came down on what I think were pretty big issues in the last session, and that's how we take money from the people, or this giant quest for more and more revenue. It's like this, this odyssey. They just, we've got to find more revenue from the people. And yet you look at the Democrats and the Republicans, and a lot of the Republicans went ahead and voted. They couldn't see, I don't want veterans to be used as a way to raise taxes elsewhere. And I support the troops, but I don't want to create new taxes on digital downloads, and be accused of hating the troops. You know what I mean?
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
Hey, folks, welcome to the program. My name is Paul. Thank you so much for being with us today. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We are building a liberty machine. And if you want to help us do it, you can call us or text us 870-275-9799. Some response from the news of last hour and the news of really the hour before that, and that is that the Shandong Rui Technology Company is coming to Arkansas because the taxpayers are going to be giving them incentives to do so. And we talked specifically about that last hour, but the headlines are already flowing, the positive headlines for the governor and others, reinforcing this false belief that the government creates jobs. They say that 800 new jobs will be created. That's what they're saying now, that 800 new jobs are on their way. I have a text message here from a listener in Lawrence County. His name is Michael. And Michael in Lawrence County writes, this is the comment I left on the Region 8 Facebook article. So are they only going to hire people who currently don't have a job? That's how you get new jobs. Otherwise, it's just a shell game. Factory A gets a tax break from the government and can pay more than Factory B, so people quit Factory B and go to Factory A. Let's see, it says Factory A. Factory A isn't paid with state taxes, and then the governor whines that the state doesn't have enough money coming in, so he raises taxes on the working people. That's a really good text message, Michael, from Lawrence County. We appreciate you listening in Lawrence County as well. The phone number, if you want to call or text, 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. Max Brantley yesterday posted that they are watching, over at the Arkansas Times, they're watching Trump's judicial appointments because there's a appointment that's supposed to come from Arkansas. And, they're quick to point out that the Senate, didn't let Barack Obama or didn't confirm many of the ones that he wanted. Max Brantley writes, I mentioned on last week's Arkansas Times podcast that a campaign was underway to win the nomination for Chad Peckron, a lawyer at Little Rock's Quattlebaum firm who labored in Republican interests, notably including the State Election Commission. End quote. You know who I'm rooting for to get this attorney's job? To get this this appointment from President Donald Trump? Why not? Why not just go all in? Just, Michael Lamoureux all the way. He's an attorney, right? Why can't Michael Lamoureux get the nod? Oh, boy. It is a joke, but don't think. I'm talking about the governor's former chief of staff, Michael Lamoureux, the former president of the Senate, Michael Lamoureux. The guy who took $130,000 in payment for a consulting gig. That was perfectly legal. The nonprofit took a lot of donations that year from a lot of lobbyists to the tune of $140,000, and $130,000 of the organization's money went to Michael Lamoureux as a he did all the massive amounts of legal work, $130,000 worth in a year's time. Yeah, that guy. Who a lot of people, I've had people from Russellville just tell me they say, no one really knows where he is now. By the way. Anyway, maybe he'll get the nod. Who knows? I bet you somewhere, someone has thought about that. Not in a joking way, by the way. I just have this suspicion. What else do we have? Oh, yeah, the state this is weird, man. I remember this. Wickline with a piece. The state treasury official who lacked a degree has quit. Board's vote scuttles plan for college leeway in post. An employee in State Treasurer Dennis Milligan's investment department resigned Tuesday after the State Board of Finance blocked Milligan's plan to reclassify the employee as a senior investment manager. The action came after Milligan, a Benton Republican, touted his office's increased investment earnings to the board. The board voted to require that the person hired to fill the new senior investment manager position have a college degree. The Treasurer's office interpreted the position requirements to also include at least 7 years of experience in investing or banking. Milligan proposed requiring the position to be filled with a person who had at least 62 college credits and at least 15 years of investing and banking experience if the candidate had no college degree. Otherwise, he proposed the position requirements include a bachelor's degree. Division Director Ronald Roberson started work for the Treasurer's office February 6th at a $70,000 a year salary. Milligan intended to reclassify him as in the Senior Investment Manager 2 position with no pay raise for fiscal year 2018, which starts July 1st. Roberson, who has 38 years investment experience, has completed 135 college credit hours. All right, so this goes on. The reason I bring this up is because you may not remember this, but there was a bill that tried to get out of committee, and I believe it had to do with this. There was somebody in the legislature that did not like the fact that this guy didn't have a college degree, and it may not be the same one. It might have been another one. I don't think so. I think it was this one. Didn't have a college degree and was making investment decisions, and this was now personally. And let me just say this: on principle, I don't really have a problem with that. I mean, if you're elected, you should be able to, like Dennis Milligan is, you should be able to surround yourself with the people you want to surround yourself with. I really think so, because isn't the Republican Party supposed to be the Republican Party that's getting out of this mentality where you have to have a college degree to be somebody in society? There's a lot of people that are good at a lot of things, and they've never gone to college a day in their life. And it's not just welders or tradesmen. There's a lot of people with a lot of aptitudes, I guess that's just my gut instinct on something like this. Because if you're wrong, you're going to get thrown out of office. If you're wrong, you're going to mess up, and something's going to, my point is when political power's at stake, there can be an incentive. There can be an incentive created that actually helps the taxpayer. That's all. That's all I'm saying. Now, in a letter given to Milligan after the board meeting, Roberson wrote that it had been an honor to serve you. Due to the opinions raised today by a few members of the State Board of Finance, I wish to tender my resignation from employment with your office effective immediately. Milligan said, we're obviously disappointed that he chose to resign, but I respect his personal decision. We feel that his 30 years of market trading experience had offered our investment department a great deal of real-world knowledge, he said in a written statement. However, I understand the concerns raised today at the State Board of Finance meeting and respect the wishes of my fellow members. In March, Senator Terry Rice told senators that Milligan hired Robertson, a former vice president and senior trader at the Bank of Oklahoma, as a senior investment manager when a college degree is required for the job. Now, here's the difference here. I mean, that was just I will tell you this. If the law states that it requires a college degree, then that's what the law says. At the time, Peterson said Robertson was placed in a division director position for which a college degree is preferred, quote, so he's qualified for the job, end quote. So this whole thing was going on, and I remember all of this in this last legislative session, and I'll say this. There was a voice vote that took place to try to advance legislation that would have corrected this whole thing, and I think more strongly enforced the idea that, hey, if you don't have a college degree, you're not going to work here anymore. And it passed on it was in state agencies, probably the most flimsy voice vote I've ever heard that actually got called out. And it passed in the opinion of the chair. And then I believe they did a roll call vote and they didn't have the votes to get it out. I believe. I remember somebody in the room telling me just how strange it was. But it did, in fact, fail. But, of course, the State Board of Finance seems to have gone ahead and remedied the situation. And this is in spite of the fact that, and I feel I want to report what Wickline reported here. Earlier during the board's meeting, Milligan reported that the Treasury earned $17.7 million in an interest on its investments of roughly $3.5 billion during the quarter that ended March 31st, up by $1.8 million over the same quarter a year ago. During the first 9 months of fiscal 2017, the Treasury had earned $39.4 million on its investments, and that's a $7.3 million increase over the same period in fiscal 2016. I mean, the numbers don't lie here. Milligan's record of investments are good. I mean, the numbers, they are what they are. And we had Dennis on when we were down at the Marble Palace covering it. It was good to hear. It was good to hear from him. And speaking of all of this, this is strange that all of a sudden the legislature has such an affinity for enforcing the requirements of a law or making sure that somebody has a college degree in the position that they're qualified for. Because do you remember Senator Johnny Key? Senator Johnny Key resigned. That's what started the whole John Burris Scott Flippo race, where Scott Flippo, at the time a political newcomer, beat John Burris because he voted for Obamacare. And so Johnny Key went for a time to work, I believe, as a lobbyist for the University of Arkansas, and now Johnny Key is the education commissioner. Well, in 2015, they wanted him to be the education commissioner, but he didn't have the educational he didn't have the qualifications. He didn't have the degree that he needed to be the head of the Department of Education here in Arkansas. You know what they did? They passed a law lowering the qualifications. And they said as long as the deputy head of the department has these qualifications, then it can happen. Now, I have, so far, I don't remember any, I might be wrong, but I don't have any problems or disputes with what Johnny Key has done so far. I'm not bringing this up for that point. All I'm saying is former Senator Johnny Key, who went to be a lobbyist and now who is a government bureaucrat, by the way. I mean, that's a pattern that a lot of people repeat. I will say this. They passed a special piece of legislation, Republicans did, to lower the qualifications so he could have this job as a bureaucrat. And now all of a sudden, it seems that they now want to enforce certain this will just let you know it's extremely arbitrary. If you're not in with the right people, you're going to be you're not going to be given as long of a leash as everybody else. You're not going to be given the benefit of the doubt as everybody else. You know what I'm saying? In that regard, Asa wanted Johnny Key. Asa gets the benefit of the doubt. Go ahead, vote against your principles, and lower the qualifications. $200,000 plus per year for Johnny Key, by the way. That's his salary. Now, at the same time, you could make the argument that it is about principle if you, what I just articulated, which was, hey, there's a lot of good people that can do a lot of great things, and they never had a college degree. But something tells me that's not why they did what they did. It's a political favor, man. That's what it all was. And I guess nobody owed Dennis Milligan any political favors. Which, again, if we want to get into that, Duncan Baird and Dennis Milligan, we remember what happened there when they were both running in a primary for this position of treasurer. Anyway, the phone number that was the Roofgate, right? Remember that? That was Roofgate. That if you hear in our parodies about drinking libations on top of a roof, it's because that was actually a scandal with the Capitol Police and the video of people after a perfectly good night of drinking wanting to go up on the roof of the Capitol. Yeah. Remember that? I saw somebody, they posted a photo of the Texas Capitol. It was a friend of mine. It was a couple of years ago. And I just posted, I wonder what the roof looks like. It's kind of an inside joke now, right? It was somebody who lived in Arkansas. They got it because they lived in Arkansas. Anyway, we got to take a break, folks. 870-275-9799. Back in a moment.
Protecting your business means protecting your data. But is your business really prepared to handle the growing threat of things like cybercriminals and ransomware? At iTex, they're committed to deploying the best security solutions to protect your business and your bottom line. Security threats are constantly evolving. So are security needs. Be proactive now and equip your business with the best cybersecurity available with iTex. Call them today for a free consultation at 870-336-9778. That's 870-336-9778 or itexusa.com.
Come to Triple R Furniture and see our sofas, recliners, bedroom suites, and more. At Triple R Furniture, we'll deliver up to 50 miles away, and we're here to help you with all of your furniture needs. Triple R Furniture gives you the option to buy furniture outright or rent to own. We strive to make the financing process as easy as possible, which is why everyone is approved. At Triple R Furniture, we offer financing terms for 3 months, 6 months, and 9 months. We also offer a manager special. Come see us at the Highland Shopping Center in Highland, Arkansas for details. Customer satisfaction is our top priority at Triple R Furniture. Call us today at 870-856-8003 or find us on the web at triplrfurniture.com.
This is Dan Sullivan with the Liberty Moment. Government is not the author or source of our rights, and you don't make America great again by giving one man in Washington all the power. You make America great again by recovering a constitutional republic, where Washington is populated by people who are servant leaders who want to return power to the people and communities. Because what makes America great again in this country are its Rotary clubs, small businesses, churches, schools, fire departments, and little leagues across this land. God bless the people who hear this truth. Senator Ben Sasse.
Paid for by Sullivan for Arkansas. If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
Need to get something off your chest? Then call or text Paul now, 870-275-9799.
Hey, Joe, can you cue back up Mike Preston saying that the new Chinese citizen that we naturalized today, can you cue that audio back up? The only reason I say that is because over on our Facebook feed, we have some people, and I'm pretty sure I know what this is. Gary writes he was honest, and it's got to be about Mike Preston. That's the only other person I know it's going to be about. And after the stream is over, we'll know when it's time-stamped and everything else. But cue this up. Here is Mike Preston from the Arkansas Economic Development Commission earlier today when Governor Hutchinson and Yafu Chu, the chairman of Ryu Technology, Shandong Ryu Technologies, they're coming to Arkansas. Supposedly it's going to create all of these jobs and everything else, and I'm sure at some point we'll figure that out. The Arkansas Center for Research and Economics has so much good information about how these economic development projects fail, and we've been over it really ad nauseum. I know this audience understands that. Here's what Mike Preston said to the chairman of this communist country company about his now new state representatives. Go ahead.
Chairman Chu, Rui, welcome to Arkansas. And Chairman, you'll look out in the audience and you'll see multiple members of the governor's cabinet. We're also here to support you. You'll see multiple members of the state legislative assembly. They're here to support you, and specifically Senator Caldwell, Senator Ingram, Representative Murdoch, Representative Hollowell. These are your senators and your representatives now. You call on them, and they're going to help you. Guarantee it.
Stop right there. I can almost hear some people in the audience being like, "Ooh." I don't think that's what I hear, but it's like, good grief. So when somebody on the Facebook feed writes he was honest, I think you're saying, yeah, he was honest. I mean, supposedly they're going to invest $413 million, but they're going to get all these tax breaks to do it. These are your state representatives and senators now. I mean, as an American, as an Arkansan, that that insults me. That makes me so upset. No, those aren't and by the way, if those same representatives and senators, for some reason, wanted to go down there and pass laws to limit this kind of stuff from going down, they could do that because the people elect them, not Yafu Chu from the Shandong Ryu investment or whatever they want to call themselves. They didn't elect this guy. They didn't do that. And it's just factually inaccurate. No, they are not. These are not your new representatives. You can't, and yet, but the way things work with economic development in this state, I guess they all have a dollar figure. They all have a dollar amount. Yes, now, I guess that's his vote. Here's $430 million. That's my vote for you. That's my vote for the status quo. I'm sure they'll call you in a heartbeat. Right? Is that what he says? What does he say about calling them now or they'll answer your call or something like that? Yeah, call them and they'll respond. I guarantee it. Do ordinary citizens in St. Francis County in that district, that Keith Ingram and others, do they get that kind of treatment? I guarantee you they don't. I guarantee you when Yafu Chu calls, they will answer. But when, regular, working Arkansan who's trying to make ends meet and is, not getting all, these free welfare benefits that many of these same people go and vote for, I guess I just have this feeling that it's not going to be as fast to get to respond. Not going to be as quick to get back to regular working Arkansan who's overtaxed and overregulated, but we will get back to Yafu Chu in an instant. I will have him on speed dial. Give him our personal numbers. The Liberty Machine rolls on. You see what we're trying to prevent here, but it's hard. We need your help. We need you to listen. We need you to tell friends to listen. Call or text 870-275-9799. It just goes to show you that like you said, there's just not much difference. And there ought to be, if we're going to be discussing these giant ideas, I don't have a lot of confidence based on their voting record, in this last session.
You know the sad part. Bob used to be a Republican. He was a JP out of that Jacksonville area. He voted with the Democrats as much as he did the Republicans. And finally, somebody said, Bob will jokingly tell you the story. He said, everybody said, "Man, you vote so much for the Democrats, you ought to become one." He did, and so but even with him with the D beside his name, there's not a huge amount of difference in his voting record. And I would say at least, what would you say, half to 2/3 of the Republicans down there have about the Democrats, and 2/3 of the Republicans have about the same voting record. Am I about right?
Yeah, from what I can tell. Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of difference. If you look a lot, I think if you went back, you could find very few times where a Republican governor's agenda got as many votes as he did from Democrats. Why? Because, 8 of them were either tax or fee increases.
Yeah.
So that's what Democrats do.
Yeah.
And obviously now that's what Republicans do. Here's the real sad part to me, Paul, and to your listeners. Here's the saddest part is I know those people, a lot of those people you called, and it's quite uncomfortable for me, but it's okay. That's why I'm here, to call an ace an ace. But it's really uncomfortable for me to comment because they're my former colleagues. I love them like brothers, but it is what it is. And you asked me the question. I'm going to be honest with you. But here's the real shame. If you had a governor who would walk in there and say, guys, I want to cut the size of government this year by 25%, and I'm going to put, I'm going to put 20% of that savings into roads, and the 80% of it is going back to the taxpayers. Or 10% to the roads, 10% to rainy day fund, a real rainy day fund.
Yeah, something. I mean, something.
And 80% of us going back to the taxpayer. Those people would be giddy. They would do it, and that's the real shame.
They would. You're exactly right.
And so what we have to do is play all these games and to act like we're lowering taxes. We're lowering them over here for veterans, but we're raising them 7 other places, and then we're calling people out and saying they hate the military because they call you out on it,
Donnie,
so that's the biggest shame of all to me.
Donnie, let me interrupt you real quick. We have breaking news. The Associated Press is reporting that Donald Trump has fired the FBI director, James Comey. In a statement, Trump
praise the Lord.
In a statement, Trump says that Comey's firing, quote, will make a new beginning for the FBI. The White House says the search for a new FBI director will begin immediately. Comey's firing comes days after he testified on Capitol Hill about the FBI's investigation into Russia's election meddling, possible connections between the Russia and Trump campaign. I thought this would happen earlier, but I will tell you, Donnie, just real quick, we got to go to break, but I'll get your response on this. The left is going to go crazy. The left is going to go absolutely nuts.
We need tongue depressors for all the media, for sure.
Yeah. Tongue depressors. All right, we appreciate it. Former State Representative Donnie Copeland, I appreciate it, sir. Thanks for coming on, sharing your thoughts with us today.
Oh, thank you, Paul.
All right.
Thank you so much.
All right, got to go to break, folks. Back in just a moment.
Paul live at paulharrell.com. It's free and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because the Liberty Machine never sleeps.
This headline is insane to me. Talk business politics. The city of Fort Smith has spent an estimated $182,000 running recycling routes and just throwing the trash in the landfill. They're not actually recycling. And this has to do with the Department of Sanitation in Fort Smith. Is this not crazy? $182,000 worth of unnecessary recycling routes from late June 2016 to around May 2017, while the recyclables collected were disposed of at the Fort Smith landfill, according to new figures. Now, they had originally said that wasn't the case, everything's fine, and now they realize that it's, it was pretty ridiculous. They took like a $50,000 grant to recycle and then didn't recycle. They just kept running the trucks, picking everybody's trash up, or plastic bottles up. And I shouldn't laugh. I mean, it's outrageous, but it's an exercise example of government and how ridiculous government is. Let's see here. Do we have anything else on this? No. Okay, Joe, so we had a text message, we had a phone call during the break. We were encouraged. We were basically making the point, hey, Yafu Chu, the senators and representatives, they've got Yafu Chu's name on speed dial. So we had a listener call up and say what?
Yeah, he was just calling in. He's just calling in to check to see if the phone number was correct, so that he could put the show's phone number on speed dial, so he can call us whenever he wants to.
Phone number on speed dial. So that's good. So we got a listener out there that put us on speed dial. That's good. So you can always call us, listener. You can put us. Basically, you can call us, leave us voicemails. If you see something, say something, text something. Let us know what's going on across the state. That's what we want. That number, 870-275-9799. All right, Joe, so I wanted to cover this topic because I saw this piece. Hang on one second. I saw this piece over here about free speech. It was an opinion editorial. It says, loud and clear, free speech is on a roll. And from the nation's capital to Arkansas, freedom of speech reaped one victory after another as last week ended and what looked like a new birth of freedom began. The country's president, the irrepressible Donald J. Trump, issued an executive order letting Americans of faith know they need no longer fear being singled out by the Internal Revenue Service for voicing their faith anywhere. Quote, under my administration, the president declared, free speech does not end at the steps of a cathedral or a synagogue or any other house of worship. We are giving our churches their voices back. People of faith, he added, will no longer be targeted, bullied, or silenced anymore. And so that got me thinking, because on Friday was May 5th. It was Cinco de Mayo, and there was an unfortunate event that happened. And I know this is speaking of freedom of speech with our exercise of freedom of religion, but think about it anyway. Freedom of expression in general is under attack in America, especially at our nation's colleges. So they got this clip here from New Hampshire University. And New Hampshire University, there's a guy on Cinco de Mayo, just a normal guy, wearing a baseball cap, carrying his backpack, but he had a poncho on. He had like a multicolored Mexican poncho on. And some woman was triggered. I mean, really triggered by it.
Yeah, she was really upset by this.
Yeah. And so this is what the audio sounds like.
Wearing a poncho. Leggings has nothing to do with anything. I'm asking, are you Mexican?
How's a poncho Mexican? Let's just get that going.
Are you? No, you're not. If you're not Mexican, how is it your holiday?
It's not my holiday. It's no one's holiday. We're celebrating.
Okay. Celebrating what? So celebrating what?
Cinco de Mayo.
It's not your holiday, sir.
Stop. I love that's my favorite part of the thing. Sir, it's not your holiday, sir.
So
let's treat him with respect, right? Let's call him sir.
As a person who is Caucasian, is Martin Luther King Day not my holiday?
They would by this standard, no.
Because
if you were, let's say you helped run your ancestors helped run the Underground Railroad. Nope. Martin Luther King Jr. Day is not your holiday, sir.
See, but I would like to pay respect to one of the greatest civil rights movement leaders of all time.
Yep. Well, it's not your holiday, Joe. You're white, and that's what they're saying, man. They're saying, okay, if you're not Mexican, then you can't celebrate Cinco de Mayo or
can't wear a poncho.
Any of that. Yeah, can't wear a poncho.
That's what they're calling this guy out for, is wearing a poncho.
Yeah, he's wearing, and it's really kind of viral. If you just type in Cinco de Mayo, it comes up, and let's see, where did it come up just now? If you want to actually watch the video yourself, just type in Cinco de Mayo, campus reform, white student accosted for wearing poncho on Cinco de Mayo.
I really want to know if there was someone else on campus that this girl did this to that was just wearing like a plastic poncho. I wonder if it was raining.
Yeah. Now keep in mind, Cinco de Mayo is a day that celebrates the Mexican Army's victory over France. Okay, and there's unlikely. That's what it's there to celebrate. All right, so sir, It's not your holiday, sir. Sir, it's not your holiday. All right. You can just feel the moral superiority. Go ahead, Joe. Keep going with this.
You're allowed to
That's
get
good for you
drunk
white
on
people
a
to
Friday.
figure out. No. Cinco de Mayo is not your holiday.
Okay, so white people celebrate American holidays. Let's get
Wow.
Yo, get that.
Stop.
They want to act morally superior.
You hear it. Wow. Back it up a little bit, but wow. That was in response. I don't know if you could hear it because they're all shouting at each other, but the response was like, well, do you celebrate American holidays? And she was like, wow. Like that's somehow offensive, but you're just using the same logic on her. You're using the same level of racism on her.
Yeah.
And I really think that's what this is. It's just like, well, you're a white guy wearing a poncho, so you must be racist.
Apparently, because at this point, if you're white, you're racist in general. Like, there's not even... Most people don't even think twice about it.
Yeah, have you seen that video? Oh, man, I think it was during the Trump election, and there's some guy, and he uses some choice language, but he's a white guy himself. And he looks at another guy and says, "You're a white male." Like, he's on the progressive side. This other guy's a Trump supporter, and he's talking about things, and he just says, "You're a white male." Like, that is, like, argument's over. I brought up the fact that you're a white male, so you don't have, basically.
You have no voice.
You don't have rights. You're a white male. You can't say that, man. Okay, so you're white. You don't have rights. It's very strange. Okay,
I don't remember anywhere in the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, or anywhere in the Constitution does it say that white men don't have rights.
It was written by white men.
And there's
that was our that's their whole thing. Well, that was our base. We started with white people having rights, and now because we take our morality today and want to force it on previous generations, the whole system has to be bad. Because we are now more evolved. Matter of fact, this is what I really think about all this stuff. You see somebody, anybody, white, black, whatever, they're doing something you disagree with, and it triggers you so much that you go up and accost them. You interview them. You try to make them feel bad about themselves. It's so ironic because they are trying to advance. They're in a very fascistic way. They are trying to advance this idea and this notion that they have the moral high ground. You heard a guy even say moral superiority. And yet, all of this is really out of a place where because you have a certain color of the skin, you don't have an opinion. And the reason that's ironic is we are using what we think is moral superiority in spite of itself, because what I actually believe is that if we really logistically boil it all down, one party in this politically correct craziness, if they had a button to push, I think they would just push the button that took the existence away from the other side. I really believe that. It's very ironic to me, but because that's where I see we're going. We're going to a place where, when the line of thinking is so fascistic that eventually you get to the point where he won't quit wearing the poncho. He won't quit wearing the poncho. Well, let's just kill everybody that won't quit wearing the poncho. It'll be a lot easier. It'll make me feel better.
Well, let me get it. Let me say something. You said he won't quit wearing the poncho. Well, I can't stop being white. I'm sorry. Like, my skin tone will be that way. I can get tan, but I will still be white.
There's not some sort of reverse Michael Jackson scenario that we could... Of course, then you'd really be racist because you'd be painting yourself, like darker skin or going full blackface.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
Nope.
All right. Yeah. So you're right. You can't. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm white. I can't stop being that. That's just who I am.
Yep. Well, maybe you just shouldn't exist then. That's their philosophy. I really think that's their. They wouldn't say that, obviously.
No.
Okay, I don't think they consciously think that. But their line of thinking is what leads to...
If you take it to the extreme, it goes to that point.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. All right, keep going with the audio.
Wow.
No, get out.
Wow.
Wait.
They won't act morally superior to you just
Stop
because
being
so
so
insensitive.
Can I please
Stop being so insensitive?
I'd like to talk with you guys.
No, they're just talking down to us.
We can talk. We can talk.
We're being reasonable.
Let me talk to them.
No, Mike, stop. This is a waste of time.
Yeah.
This is retarded.
I want to make a.
What?
Let's go.
And now we're using the R word.
Stop! Yes. You can take this is the product of taking one issue, and you can now predict their entire worldview. A guy says this is retarded, and she says, "What? It's what?"
This is what arguments amongst, unfortunately, my generation has come to, where people would have a discussion of ideas, or in this case, an argument, which is not even a discussion of ideas, and you literally get to the point where you berate someone to the point where they say something just because they're really they're just so thrown off balance by this whole scenario. They say something, and then you just jump all over it, and you just capitalize on it, and you just make them look like a horrible human being.
I wish somewhere someone would take videos like this that they're out there, not just based on the Poncho and Cinco de Mayo, but on all these issues. And I wish there was a graduating high school senior. I know most of the graduations have already happened, or they're going to be having. I wish whoever gives the speech would say, "We got a lot of fun bickering over social justice to do. We got 4 years of getting rid of our white guilt, and we've got 4 years to perfect ourselves to ascend to this mountaintop of progressive utopia, and everything's going to be great."
And when you walk into your first class in college, remember, check your privilege at the door.
Yeah, exactly. Just be so ridiculous, because that's exactly what college is now. You're no longer really debating, the issues that are really important or philosophy. You're now you're actually taking away respect. You're taking away the benefit of the doubt by saying just because you must have been raised by white parents that are racist, that are prejudiced, and it's really a shame. And matter of fact, I was talking to somebody who was on used to go to Arkansas campus and was in a fraternity, and they were saying, "Oh, you wouldn't believe it. They would have meetings with the fraternity saying you shouldn't dress up like this. Even in Arkansas, this is an acceptable thing." Where we're trying to be so careful about offending someone else. And that is why people rioted when Donald Trump got elected, because they lost for the first time, but they also were so offended as well, and they don't know how to handle disappointment. They don't know how to handle not getting a participation trophy. They don't know how to handle these things. All right, I want to keep going with the audio, because eventually this guy with the poncho, he speaks up for himself, makes some good points.
You need to get a dictionary. All right, guys. You shouldn't say them. It's insensitive. What's the deal? Why do you have a problem with me?
Because the Mexican culture, like a poncho, is like for Mexican people, and like their heritage. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes, they are the people.
Are they the only people to ever wear a poncho?
No, but what I'm saying is it's Cinco de Mayo, right? It's all related to Mexico, and you're representing them, and you're not representing.
I'm not representing anyone.
You're perpetuating the stereotype that Mexicans drink and wear ponchos for a living. That's what you're doing. And you also have to keep in mind the racial tension that's happening right now, where your president claims that Mexicans only come here, drink, and steal your jobs. So you're perpetuating that idea and the stereotypes that are associated with it. Yes, you are. By wearing this, you're making a statement. Last year is not clear. Last year is still. Racism has been here.
Because it's Cinco de Mayo, right? You don't wear this every day.
No.
So then you're not appreciating the culture, you're appropriating it. There's a difference.
I appreciate every culture for being
No, you're not appreciating it.
You can't talk for me. You're wrong.
I'm not talking for you. I'm being honest with you.
You're saying I'm wrong by saying that I don't appreciate other cultures. I do.
The difference between appreciating and appropriating.
Because
you're taking advantage.
You're making them a costume. How is that not appropriating something?
What are you talking about?
You're dressing as what stereotypical Mexican would be like instead of appreciating their culture.
And I'm having fun, and it's an excuse.
And celebration includes drinking and dressing like a different kind of person.
Yes.
No, that is not celebrating someone. That's humiliating them. What are you talking about?
I'm not trying to be a different kind of person. I am dressing for fun because I'm having fun.
Why couldn't you just dress what's your name? What's your name?
Mike.
Why couldn't you just dress as Mike? Why does Mike have to wear a poncho to celebrate Cinco de Mayo? That's the point.
Mike wears whatever he wants.
That's the point. Why can't Mike just be Mike on Cinco de Mayo?
Exactly right. Stop right there. You fascists.
I got a couple
Mike wears what he wants to wear. because he is a free man. That's why Mike wears a poncho. Mind your own business.
I got a few things to say. First off, I love how they automatically assume he voted for Donald Trump.
Yeah.
There's no context.
Well, he's a white guy.
There's no context to suggest that he voted for Donald Trump, but they said your president. They didn't say the president. They said your president. They automatically assumed that he voted for Donald Trump. Second, okay, so if they're going to get all up in arms about him wearing a poncho Cinco de Mayo, then they should really get all up in arms about St. Patrick's Day.
Yes, that's a great point.
Because
but there's not a weird bunch of Irish victims running around trying to victimize themselves. I'm sorry. I keep going. I mean, when I say weird, I just mean, this is just not compatible with the concepts of American liberty. That's when I say weird. That's what I mean.
Okay, but still, they should get all up in arms about other holidays. Okay, so Thanksgiving. Are we going to dress up like pilgrims? Are they going to get all up in arms about that?
Again, they should.
Exactly.
They should.
Oh, it's Christmas. Going to dress up like Santa Claus.
Yeah,
I don't dress up like Santa Claus the rest of the year, but I'm going to dress up today.
Mm-hmm.
Get all up in arms about that, please.
Yeah, this is kind of like, in a weird way. This is how. You remember a long time ago? It's still today. PETA. Okay, they don't want you to do anything to animals. They don't want you to eat animals. They don't want you to, And so you could very easily. Now PETA doesn't do that. They do these other campaigns trying to persuade people to think the way they want them to think. But can you imagine if PETA had an organized effort to every schmo on a curb eating some beef jerky, you go up to them with a camera and say, "Do you know where that meat came from? That's meat. Do you know that was alive? How dare you appropriate that meat into your digestive system? Don't you know what you're doing? You're a murderer." Now I know there are people like that, but that's essentially what has happened. That's what's. I mean, we have all of these millennial victims, and they are trying to force political correctness and. They want to shame people instead of trying to convince them that, hey, man, maybe you shouldn't wear that poncho. It might offend somebody. Now, that's still, that he still has a right to wear the poncho. Yep. Get over it.
Yep. On the PETA thing, do you know the spoof name for PETA, the acronym? Like the people who make fun of PETA, you know what it stands for?
I do not.
Purposefully eating tasty animals.
That's that is also the definition of trolling.
Yes.
I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah, I bet that gets some pretty bad responses out there. All right, well, anyway, I just had to talk about that. I could because I saw the article, Freedom of Speech on the Move. Not at our college campuses, it's not.
No,
people don't know what it is. They're actually calling for limits to free speech.
I'd say on college campuses, it's not on the move. It's at a screeching halt at this point, and it's probably, if anything, it's in reverse.
Yeah.
It's going backwards.
Yeah, and you almost saw it. The big irony was, when Stephen Colbert, said those things about Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin, and then you saw, it was a homosexual reference, and he made a homosexual act between two men appear in a negative light. And, all the fire Colberts and that sort of thing, that was really ironic that, Stephen Colbert's out there doing the left's bidding. Now, he's actually concerned about Donald Trump in many of the ways we were concerned about Barack Obama, although you could have never you could have never said that about Barack Obama. You would have been thrown off the air. And yet he almost gets thrown off the air because of the left's outrage.
Yeah, because he's a poster child for a lot of different things for the left, but he says one wrong thing.
Yeah.
And it gets people all up in arms about it. He's immediately now a social pariah of the left.
Yeah. Yeah, they're creating – what they don't understand is the power structure at the top that benefits from this, that benefits from all of these voters, really. You're setting up such a volatile situation where they only have to cry wolf, they only have to cry victim, and they get this huge support rallying to their cause. You're setting up a powder keg.
Yeah, they don't
to
actually
where you could lose, even though you're the Democrat, you're the progressive, you're benefiting from all of this. You could lose control of it like that.
Yeah, they don't actually have to have proof that something's actually wrong or something's been done to them. They just have to be able to cry wolf, and automatically everyone's on their side.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell program. The Liberty Machine rolls on next.
Bob Maloney here from ASA News, The Parrot. Breaking news from the Capitol in Little Rock. Over now to our new on-site reporter, Susan Shenanigans. Susan?
Thanks, Bob. The governor has just announced that a blue ribbon task force is to be formed.
Today, I'm asking your support for a blue ribbon legislative task force to be created and directed to recommend further reform.
Now we go live to the chamber to listen in for more information on the task force.
I hereby call this session into order. First on the agenda for today is the formation of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Is there anyone who would like to give their thoughts on the task force?
Yes, as someone who's deeply conservative, why is the governor choosing the color blue for this task force? Sounds like he's really a Democrat loyalist. Why not a red ribbon to prove he's a true conservative?
Well, I represent Walmart, and we agree with the color of the task force ribbon. The color blue is best consistent with the Walmart brand.
I object to this choice. Blue is the wrong color ribbon for this task force.
Well, who are you?
I am Mr. P.C. Wrights, and I represent Target, and we want the ribbon to be red, not blue.
Hold it right there. This seems like a tough decision. Why not ask the governor to call a special session at a later date for an important decision as this?
I think this is something worth talking about. I motion that we decide the color of the ribbon today.
I second it. Fine. We can decide it now. Does anyone have any other suggestions for the color of the ribbon?
I think the color should be white.
Whoa. Hold on. Definitely not white.
I agree with Mr. P.C. Wrights. Maybe we should choose green for the farmers.
You like the color green because you are a farmer. I think it should be purple, so we can display how Arkansas is an extremely moderate state.
Why are we even discussing this? Shouldn't we be talking about tax reform instead of wasting time with this?
Well, the people have spoken. They believe this is worth talking about, so we are deciding this now.
Excuse me, sir, but shouldn't the color of the ribbon be rainbow to include all types of people?
Please, silence your phones.
I just received a call from Walmart HQ, and they agree with, what was your name again? My name is Fabulous. They agree with Fabulous that the color should be rainbow.
Target concurs with the decision of it being rainbow-colored ribbon.
Is there a motion to make the ribbon rainbow-colored?
I motion to make the color rainbow.
I second the motion. The motion carries because I said so.
The committee will now vote and not be on record to keep the people in the dark. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for listening to ASA News The Parrot. Next up, there are reports of a gorilla on top of the Capitol Dome demanding massive sums of taxpayer cash. His name? Medicaid expansion.
PHP Parody.
All right, so follow me on Twitter at Paul Harrell 1776. That's at Paul Harrell 1776. Looks like, let's see, State Representative Charlie Collins responded to one of my tweets about his tweet. I replied to him. This is what he wrote on Twitter. We'll wait and see final D.C. healthcare plan. AHCA, not it, meaning the American Health Care Act is not it. The plan is the improvements encourage personal responsibility and maintain access. Maintain access. That's the key word there from Charlie Collins. And I think it has to do with keeping this ridiculous responsibility that the federal government's forcing on us that we have to pay for able-to-work adults to have care when they're able-to-work adults. And so I just decided to reply to him, and I said, do you think the Arkansas legislature will have to end the program if costs are shifted to the state? And this is what he said in response. He said, I focus on cost benefit to Arkansas taxpayers as a top priority of this and other spending decisions. Cost shifts definitely impact how we adjust. So, I get the feeling from that, he's one of these guys that wants things to be different once it comes out of the Senate. That's my interpretation of that, really from the initial one as well. It's not the final one. It's almost like, hey, it's not the final one, guys. The Senate's going to I think the Senate, that's what everyone says, is the Senate is going to try to progressivize, liberalize, take some of the conservative provisions out of this. That's all the time we have for today for our Mountain Talk 97 audience. You guys have one more hour left. For the rest of you, Arkansas, thank you for listening and be safe.